Nibiru, the planet that could be hiding in our solar system. What if there was a massive planet somewhere beyond the orbit of Neptune? A planet so distant and so difficult to detect that we simply haven't seen it yet. For decades, stories about a mysterious world called Nibiru have claimed exactly that. Some say it's a hidden planet with an enormous orbit. Others have claimed it could one day enter the inner solar system. But where did the story actually come from? And is there any real science behind the idea? Let's take a journey to the outer edge of our solar system. Our solar system is far larger than most people realize. We have the Sun at the center, followed by Mercury, Venus, Earth, and Mars. Then come the giant planets, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. But after Neptune, things get much stranger. Beyond the planets is the Kuiper belt, a huge region filled with icy worlds and debris. And even farther out could be the enormous Oort cloud, a hypothetical shell of icy objects surrounding the solar system. The distances involved are almost impossible to imagine. Neptune is roughly 4.5 billion kilometers from the Sun, and the outermost regions of the solar system may extend vastly farther than that. So the idea of a distant planet hiding out there isn't completely ridiculous. In fact, astronomers really are searching for undiscovered planets. And that's where things get interesting. In the 1970s and 1980s, author Zecharia Sitchin popularized the idea of a planet called Nibiru. According to Sitchin, Nibiru was associated with ancient Mesopotamian mythology and was supposedly a large planet traveling through the solar system on an enormous orbit. The story became increasingly popular in books, documentaries, and later across the internet. Some versions of the story claim Nibiru would eventually return to the inner solar system. But there is a major problem. There is no accepted astronomical evidence that a planet called Nibiru is heading toward Earth. The ancient texts that Sitchin interpreted do not provide scientific evidence for such a planet, and modern astronomers do not recognize Nibiru as a confirmed planet. But that doesn't mean there is nothing interesting happening in the outer solar system. Quite the opposite. Astronomers have discovered thousands of objects beyond Neptune, and some of their orbits behave strangely. A handful of extremely distant objects appear to have unusual orbital patterns. Their paths around the Sun seem to be clustered in ways that have led some researchers to investigate whether an unseen planet could be influencing them. This hypothetical object is sometimes called Planet 9. And Planet 9 is not the same thing as Nibiru. Planet 9 is a legitimate scientific hypothesis. The idea is that there could be a planet several times more massive than Earth orbiting incredibly far from the Sun. If it exists, it could be so distant that sunlight reflecting from its surface would be extremely faint. It could take thousands or potentially tens of thousands of years to complete one orbit. Imagine standing on that world. The Sun wouldn't dominate the sky the way it does from Earth. It would appear more like an exceptionally bright star. And the planets we're familiar with would be unimaginably distant. But if Planet 9 exists, why haven't we found it? Because space is enormous. Astronomers aren't searching a small patch of sky. They're potentially searching huge regions for an object that could be extremely faint and moving very slowly against the background stars. It's a little like trying to find a single dark object somewhere in an enormous forest, except the forest is the entire sky. And there is another important point. If a large planet were actually approaching the inner solar system, astronomers would expect to see evidence of its gravitational influence. The orbits of planets, asteroids, and comets are measured with extraordinary precision. A massive object moving toward the inner solar system would not simply appear out of nowhere. Its gravity would affect other objects long before it reached Earth. That's why the terrifying version of the Nibiru story doesn't hold up scientifically. There is currently no evidence that a planet-sized object is on a collision course with Earth. But the search for distant worlds is very real. And perhaps the most fascinating part is this. We still haven't completely mapped our own solar system. We've sent spacecraft beyond Pluto. We've discovered thousands of distant objects. We've photographed worlds billions of kilometers away. And yet there could still be something enormous hiding in the darkness. Not necessarily Nibiru, not an ancient destroyer planet, but potentially a genuine undiscovered world. A planet so distant that humanity hasn't managed to see it yet. And if Planet 9 really exists, finding it would completely change our understanding of the solar system. It would mean that our planetary neighborhood contains another major world that has remained hidden for billions of years. So is Nibiru real? Based on the evidence we currently have, there is no scientific evidence that Nibiru exists or that it is coming toward Earth. But could there be another undiscovered planet far beyond Neptune? That question is still open. And somewhere in the darkness, billions of kilometers beyond the worlds we know, there may be a planet waiting to be discovered. The strange thing about space is that sometimes the most incredible discoveries aren't hiding in distant galaxies. They're hiding right here, in our own cosmic backyard.